This is a scary story for me personally. I wouldn't even exist or be here if the culprit got what he wanted. This incident happened back in Jakarta, Indonesia in the 1980s. I think I was in between 4 to 6 years old. The details are a little bit blurry, but I remember my mom took me to accompany her to a small Buddhist temple near our home. Don't think of it as large open temples like you would see in Kung Fu movies. No, this is a small building with bathroom-like tiles with high walls. It was nestled in a small busy neighborhood populated by both the real native Indonesians and the Chinese Indonesians. My mom did teach me not to talk to strangers even if they offered me candy. Inside the temple, she left me to pray. And I just played inside, still inside of the walls of the temple, which was like a courthouse. There was this big door that was tall, solid, and made of metal and painted in red. I have gone to this place many times and usually nothing happens. But on that fateful day, a man peeked from the slit of the door and talked to me. I truly forgot what he said at that moment, but I remember he offered me candy. I knew what my mom said, but I somehow opened the door for him and went outside. Now, outside of the temple, there are a row of Becaks. These are bicycles that have carriages in the front to transport passengers. Come to find out, he was a native Becak driver. He took me to his Becak and he sat me inside. I forgot the details, but I remember sitting on his lap, but he did not let me escape. He scolded me and grabbed my little arm, and it all happened in public in broad daylight. To be honest, I don't remember if he was aroused or not, but if you think about it, you might come to the conclusion that he did. And this is the reason why he forced me to sit down on his lap and he didn't want me to move. Perhaps he might have rubbed up against me, but if it happened, I'm glad I do not remember it. It felt like forever, but then my mom rushed forward and screamed and she rescued me. There was a lot of commotion, but it didn't last long. We then went back inside of the temple and I was scolded by her. I was both sad and scared, but I'm glad she rescued me. If the Becak driver had taken me away instead of making me sit on his lap outside of the temple, I might not even be here telling you the story. He might have essayed me, unalived me, or made me a beggar. Yes, there are some real sexual criminal cases involving gay pedophiles in Indonesia with dead victims. And thinking of that gives me the shivers. I was 19 at the time, around 2009. I had a weekday off. I decided to go to the beach by myself and bring my guitar along. This was rural Northern California where the beaches are below cliff faces and usually empty of other people. There was a particular beach where someone had built a driftwood hut into the side of a steep cliff with the beach below about 100 feet. You could just barely see the roof of the structure from the highway. I always wanted to check this place out, so I parked my car on the highway and made my way along the narrow trail to the hut. It was a beautiful day, so I sat up near one of the hut's windows and was playing my guitar and watching the waves. Suddenly, I hear someone else walking down the trail. I'm a little nervous, but I figure it must be well known to locals or something. And then enters the man. Immediately, I get major creepy vibes from him. He is in his late 50s, overweight, unshaven, thick glasses, sloppy dirty clothes, sweatpants, and a dirty white tee, but not homeless or anything. He immediately initiated conversation with me. At first, it was just nice pleasantries, talking about the view, the weather. Then he starts asking me personal questions. Do you live around here? Do you go to college? Are you working today? Are you here with anybody? I answered very vaguely, and I started to feel uncomfortable and feel trapped. The hut is very long and narrow, and there's no way for me to get to the trail leading back to the car without me passing him. At this point, I only say the bare minimum, trying to show him that I'm not interested in conversation. I look away and he snaps a picture of me on this disposable camera. I asked him what is he doing, and he says he wanted to show all his friends back home how beautiful the girls in California are. At this point, I started brainstorming my options. I could try to run past him, but I will have to get close. I can jump out of the window of the hut towards the ocean, but it's a pretty steep cliff face to the beach to 100 feet or more below. My gut started telling me that this was a dangerous situation, but I was frozen and I didn't know what to do. Then he tells me that he needs to go to this truck to get something about his camera, but I knew he already used his camera. He leaves the hut, but there's no way for me to get around to my car without passing him. I'm brainstorming what to do, but I keep thinking maybe I'm overreacting. I run to the entrance of the hut, but he's already making his way back down the trail towards me. Now this is the gross part. He has a very large invisible erection in his sweatpants and he has something under his arm. I run to the opposite side of the hut and jump out of the window, sitting on the ledge of the steep cliff. In that split second where I had to make a decision, I look at the sky and I see two hawks fighting each other. I had just read The Alchemist, and if I remember, the universe sends the main character omens and signs. One particular omen in the book is two fighting raptors, which ended up meaning something bad was coming and to run. In that moment, I knew I had to scale the steep cliff to the beach below. I decided I'd rather die falling or die swimming across the river than to find out what this creep was planning. So I started scaling the steep cliff. He ran to the edge and he asked where I was going. He yelled for me to come back. Adrenaline kicked in so hard I made it down surprisingly fast without falling or getting hurt. Luckily, he didn't follow. He stood there the entire time yelling for me to come back. I was shaken. I made it to the beach and hid in some vegetation for what felt like forever, but it was probably only about 20 minutes. I finally decided it was safe to walk down to the beach where the actual trail was. I could see a man standing at the top. It wasn't him. I could tell by the silhouette, but I was terrified that he had an accomplice. I decided to risk it and ran up and asked for help. Thankfully, it ended up being a park ranger. I told him the whole story. We walked to the hut and the creep was gone. He put out a radio call so enforcement would be on the watch, and I filed a police report. When I abruptly left, I left my purse and all of my stuff in the hut. It was all still there when I returned with the ranger, but I was terrified that he went through my belongings and saw my address on my ID. For months afterwards, I was scared to be home alone. I think the creep would have done something awful if I would have stayed in the hut that day. I think he might have gone to his truck for a weapon or rope or something, but I'm not sure since I couldn't see what he was tucking under his arm. Now I know not to worry about what anyone thinks if I feel danger and I need to bolt. I'm not religious or anything, but I thank the universe for sending me a very clear sign at such a pivotal moment. Nothing ever came of the report, but sometimes I search for the town name and crimes in case I ever recognize his mugshot. Hey everyone, long-time lurker, first-time poster here. I had this experience a month ago now, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. I'm really curious to hear what you think might have been going on. I, a mid-20s woman, was traveling solo through Europe for the month of March. It was around 10 a.m. in a mid-sized city in Germany on Sunday. I had just checked out of my hotel and was walking through the city center with my backpack on my way to the train station. There were lots of people around waiting for the tram and walking. It was a super safe area. I noticed a woman standing in the middle of the street where the tram tracks were. She was wearing a backpack on her front, but not like a traveler's backpack, a smaller one. She looked to be maybe in her early 40s. She wasn't disheveled, looked clean, was dressed appropriately for the weather, etc. As soon as after I passed her, I heard her calling out in German and soon realized she was calling out to me. She clearly was not in distress or asking for help. She just wanted to make conversation, and with many folks around, I was totally down for that. But something about this person was instantly not sitting right with me. I had ignored her at first, but she would not stop. So I kept walking and I said, "Sorry, I don't speak German." In hindsight, this was stupid, and later in the trip, I wouldn't have done it, but I was still getting used to it. "Oh, you want to speak American?" she said. "We can speak American." I ignored her, but soon became aware that she was starting to follow me. I picked up the pace and ducked into a crowded bakery, thinking either she didn't see me or at least be around other people in a contained space. I ordered, but before I even sat, I saw her come in and order something too. I was pretty freaked out at this point. I sat down and put my earbuds in and opened a book, not actually listening or reading anything, but hoping it would keep her from talking to me. Nope. She came over and sat at my table. I ignored her, but again, she was relentless, waving at me and smiling. I don't even know how to describe a smile. It was like she was really forcing it and it was unnatural, like she was putting up some sort of act. I asked her what she needed and she told me that she'd seen me walking and thought that I looked like I needed some compassion. I told her no, I was good, everything was fine, but thanks, trying to be as pleasant as possible while still making my disinterest clear. She started talking about various things, people she met on trains, dance classes, etc. Her English was not great at all, so I didn't really understand a lot of it, but suffice to say, these were all completely random topics. The really strange thing though is that I didn't get any impression that she had a mental illness or any other kind of neurodiversion that would explain a conversation like this. Felt like she was trying to think of ways to just keep talking to me. Like at times, I could see the wheels in her head turning as she tried to come up with anything else to say. This went on for probably like 5 minutes. Finally, she offered to move to her own table. I said yes, that would be great if she could. She sat at the one closest to me, but even then tried to get my attention and talk to me. She finally sort of stopped, but she still kept looking at me and pulling out her cell phone to text someone. Also, she never even once touched a massive slice of cake that she had bought at this bakery. There was one man, a fellow customer, sitting nearby who looked sympathetic to me and kept glancing over like he was suspicious of this woman and what was going on. And I don't think he spoke English, so he really couldn't understand. But it's not like I could have explained it to him as I don't speak German. My heart was racing. Finally, I decided I needed to get out of there. I kept checking Google Maps to see when the next tram would arrive, and once it was just a minute away, I slipped out of the bakery while the woman's looking down at her phone and ran into the tram. I watched the doors the whole time to make sure she didn't follow on, and I didn't stop looking behind me until I was safe at the train station. I haven't been able to stop thinking about this, and I don't know what to make of it. I met tons of outgoing people in Europe, people more direct and sociable than Americans, but no one else has ever made me feel the way that this woman did. Something about the whole situation, following me, buying something that she never ate just so she can be into the bakery, looking back at me and texting someone, it just felt off. I believe I have pretty good instincts when it comes to people, and this person just didn't feel right from the beginning. I can't help but be afraid that she saw me with my backpack. Quite obviously was a tourist and was planning on doing something to this naive and vulnerable American. I guess I'd never know, but I'm curious to hear if any of you have any ideas, or if I'm just totally misreading a harmless situation. Good evening, everyone. This is Yuri K, and this is the end of the video. Please leave a comment and let us know your opinions on the matter. If you happen to like this content, please check out our other videos. Make sure you like and share amongst your friends and family to help our community grow. You happen to be new to this channel? Please make sure you subscribe. It's free and you can always change it in the future. You have some terrifying story suggestions? If so, make sure that you send it to my email, fearofthedarkstories@gmail.com, and I'll feature it in a future segment. But you guys stay safe out there, and remember to always be afraid of the dark.